You know, there has never been any question that we here on Delmarva absolutely love our seafood, and I'll bet if we put a pile of fresh shrimp in front of you, or a piece of salmon, or crabs, oh, crabs, you'd go to town, right?
Yeah, and many of us put our trust in the talent of others to prepare such delicious meals. But what if you wanted to prepare your own seafood? Well, there are a few things you should know.
So we consulted the experts at the Salty Wave Seafood Market in Harrington. In another edition of Now You Know, Delmarva Life's Maxine Bensel finds out what you need to consider when shopping for seafood.
There's nothing quite like fresh seafood, especially here on Delmarva, but picking out that perfect piece of fish or best bushel of crabs can sometimes be a challenge. So we caught up with the owner of the Salty Wave, Joe White, to find out 7 things that you should know before you go shopping for seafood. Let's get started with number 7.
Make sure the market you go to has the ability to cook the products that they offer fresh. If the market doesn't understand how to use the products that they're selling, if they're not using them at home for themselves and their own family, then I would question why I would want to use it for my family.
Makes sense, right? You should only want the best quality seafood for your family. Let's check out tip number 6.
You want a knowledgeable staff that can help you pick out your seafood. Knowledgeable staff can help you pick out what's local, what's in season, how much you'll need for the number of people you're trying to feed, and then how long you can keep that seafood. And if you need it, tips on how to prepare it.
And the staff at the Salty Wave can help you with all of that. Moving on to tip number 5.
Live crabs should have a yellowish tint on the bottom. The yellow color on the bottom is actually the fat inside the crab. If you look at the bottom of a crab and it's really rusty, that's okay too. There's going to be yellow in a crab like that. Once they're steamed, if you get them steamed at the location, there should be fat that comes out of it. It's going to be white. You're not going to see it on every single crab, but about 1/3 to half the crabs are going to be so fat that there's actually coming out of them once they're steamed.
And when it comes to crabs, I always say the bigger, the better. Let's see what we have for tip number 4.
Shellfish like clams and oysters, when you tap them together, they should not have a hollow sound. They should sound like 2 rocks hitting each other. To make sure clams and oysters are fresh when you buy them, you want to make sure that they're live, and they should not sound like this. This is hollow. Instead, they should actually sound like 2 rocks hitting each other. And if they aren't fresh, you need to discard them.
A simple tip to make sure the shellfish you're picking out is always fresh. Here's tip number 3.
Most live seafood likes to be stored at 50 degrees, not at normal refrigerated temperature. So when you buy live seafood, have a plan for how you're going to use it and when you're going to use it. The best time to use it is within the first 6 hours, unless you have a special cooler or refrigerator that you can set at that right temperature.
If you can't store your seafood at 50 degrees, Joe says you can always have them cook it for you. That way when you get home, you can just pop it in the fridge. Now let's look at tip number 2.
Whole fish should have clear eyes and no slimy feel whatsoever. If the eyes aren't clear, that may mean that the fish is a little bit old or hasn't been very well taken care of with refrigeration. I would not use fish that has dark eyes, looks like it may have been not treated well. If you're going to have the market clean them for you, just take a look at them before they start to clean the whole fish for you. If the fish feels slimy, just pick a different fish that day.
Slimy just doesn't sound good, does it? Now last but certainly not least, here's tip number 1.
Fish and other seafood should never smell like fish. When you get fresh fish, it actually does not smell like fish. It should be really firm. If you take your fingers and press on it, the meat should spring right back.
And now you know.
Crabs, shrimp. I think we need to pay Joe a visit. Let's have a competition and see if we can eat it as fast as he makes it.
I know you would win that. And if you would like to read more about the Salty Wave, just go to delmarvalife.com. Stay with us. Delmarva Life. We'll be right back.